Welcome back to another And Go podcast. It's your boy Mike coming at you from the coronavirus wasteland. We're here to talk about esports and
And
streamers.
douchebag streamers, like your persona you just put on. I guess I'll
Don't you
start
dare.
with
Don't you dare.
Ninja is a crackpot fool, and Fortnite is the lamest game ever. Take it from there, Bill.
Well, no, let's back up. Tell me more about Ninja, Brian. You brought this up in the other
Ninja.
top 10 Tuesday.
Oh,
Tell me more
the
about
dude
Ninja.
has written some of the most cringiest books.
He wrote some books?
Yep, he was
I didn't
also
know
on
that.
The Masked Singer. He was the first one kicked off The Masked Singer. He's
Tell
trying
me
to
about his
get
books.
everywhere. I
What were
don't
the
know.
books
I've
about?
seen some YouTubers cringily talk about them, him saying he's so competitive, and there's shit about him of saying, oh, don't get mad when I get mad. I'm a winner, so when I get mad at losing, that is just the winner spirit. No, that's just you being a fucking poor sport, okay? You can get better. Don't just curse people out and freak out.
One of the
Probably,
books is literally called Get Good, My Ultimate Guide to Gaming. What a
yeah,
fucking disaster.
douchebag.
Yeah.
Okay, and oh, everything about him. I try to, after I heard a few things about him, I try to keep away from him. There's other bullshit streamers and esports people, but he's the most popular. I'm using air quotes with that. He was like on the New Year's special, and he got people do
Yeah.
that Fortnite thing.
The floss.
And people were just like looking at him like he's a retard because people don't know esports stars.
He was going for the world record, apparently. He wanted to get 1 million people to do the floss. There's a world record for flossing. He's trying to get 1 million people in Times Square to do it, and no
I
one.
hope that.
That's a great video.
Yes, that was a great, like, douchebag alert. Getting his just desserts.
Sorry, I don't mean to make this the Ninja podcast, but my second favorite thing about Ninja was that time he thought some guy was stream sniping, and he got him banned. This kid in Fortnite, and he like had to do this whole apology video, and the apology video was fucking hilarious. So I suggest everyone go look that up. Anyway, esports was kind of the main topic here. Streamers was a subtopic. Bill, I know you have some very strong feelings about esports.
Well, I think first of all we got to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Are esports sports?
That's a great question. Now, my stance on this has been, well, billiards is played, I believe, in the Olympics.
Not that I know of, but maybe.
Considered a sport on ESPN.
Maybe that, but I've never heard of it being an Olympic sport. But maybe.
And I don't consider billiards to be any. And I like fucking playing pool. I don't consider billiards to be more of a sport than gaming. It's kind of been that's what it boils down to for me.
See, to me, I'd have to agree with you. I wouldn't look at something like shooting pool or billiards as a sport anyway. To me, that's a game.
Sure.
Requires skill and it's competitive, sure, but to label that a sport, I don't know. I mean, personally, I think it's even a stretch to like label stuff like bowling a sport, but I guess you could make a case for that. But stuff like darts and billiards, I don't think so.
All right, so we're kind of getting closer to the true definition of sports in your mind. So why would bowling be a little closer to a sport than, say, darts or pool?
I mean, there's obviously the competition piece, and there's the skill piece, and it does involve a ball of some kind, which for a lot of people that's sort of a defining factor. And you do have a certain amount of physicality, right? You actually have to have the strength and the form to be able to roll the ball down the lane and stuff. But like I said, even that's kind of a stretch for me,
Sure.
But an argument could be made. But to me, I don't know, the shooting pool, the playing video games, it's just not a sport.
No, but they do take concentration, sort of like NASCAR. Okay,
Sure.
being able to
That's
go
another
around
one.
that track. Yeah,
That's
it's not a
another one.
sport.
It's kind of like people say, "Oh, it's a sport," and it's like, I mean, it definitely takes physical endurance and skill and concentration, But is it a sport? Kind of a stretch, at least in my opinion.
It's the sport for masturbators. That wrist action.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I get the physicality part of something being defined as a sport. I do also think that calling esports is a matter of branding, because you can't
I'm
very
sure.
well. Yeah, you can't call it professional gaming. That's not as marketable.
Yeah, and I feel like they were trying to get in on the whole like X Games and other stuff where it was kind of riding the fringe of sports and trying to get on things like ESPN and other stuff like that.
I will say this: they had a couple of professional Counter Strike games on TBS, and I watched it because I wanted to support, the whole idea. And they had these Arby's commercials that were like custom made for Counter Strike. They were fucking solid, I gotta say.
Well, in reality, they don't. Yeah, it's a branded measure, but anything can really be entertaining. I hate to bring this up, but anime, they've made everything into a competitive thing, and it can get exciting. Poker, they had something you said, Mike, brought poker to my mind. SPN has poker, or some
Sure.
other networks, and
Yeah.
they do that as very competitive. I mean, yeah, it's a branding thing. Is it a sport? Fuck no. Okay,
Yeah,
so
no.
these little douchebags. Yes, it takes concentration, and you know what also takes? Persona. There's one streamer. I don't think he's a competitive guy. Doctor Disrespect.
Oh yeah, I
They've
love Dr.
got
Disrespect.
persona. Yeah,
He's not a competitive guy. He's the world video game champion, 92 through 93. Brian, two-time world video game champion.
What video game?
It's not. That's part of his tagline. The video
Yes,
game is
it's
never
a persona.
specified, but he
Yes,
did in
he's a
fact
jackass.
win. There was a Blockbuster Gamer of the Year award that they were giving out in the '90s, and he won it twice. So he's not lying.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Don't disrespect. Sorry, Dr. Disrespect. If you're listening to this, I bow down. You could probably beat me in every last esports. I bow down to your disrespectfulness.
I thought it was
If
classy
you're
that
listening.
that time he cheated on his wife and he like made a video about it. I thought that was classy.
Drama. That might have been from the heart, but who the hell knows with the drama. I mean, it's the whole YouTube sphere also plays a part in this. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Some other douchebags, I think they're from your sport, your esport, Mike, CSGO, FaZe Rug. They also are Call of Duty people. FaZe Rug, that whole douchebag group who got hit with the little gambling shit. I mean, I'm getting a little bit out of the
yeah.
zone, but the trading skins and crap like that, FaZe Rug, or
T-Mart,
yeah, he's definitely was one of them.
R.I.P. Dude, I got so many sweet skins from CS:GO Lotto.
Syndicate.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just disappointing to hear about that. A few
Alright.
good streamers came out of the World of Warcraft community, even if most of them have turned against it.
So, just to bring us back here, Bill, in your opinion, on a scale of very sports to barely sports, what's on the two ends of that spectrum?
You mean like what is the most sport of sports kind of thing?
Yeah, I feel like table tennis.
so-
I feel like is a sport, but it's got to be low on
Yeah.
the spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about 1 to 10, those would be like in your ones, and I feel like the team sports would probably your soccer, football, basketball.
How low would esports be on
baseball
this?
would be
Zero?
up there at the
Yeah.
top.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Esports to me would be a 0. That's just a game. You brought up a perfect example in poker. To me, it's about the same. It takes a skill. It takes knowledge of what you're doing, but to me, it's not a sport.
Okay.
I feel like there's a fair case to be made there.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, the wrist action is probably about the only exercise they get. Maybe a little bit of shuffling around in your seat, but I don't see how movement concentration has to be high for these things. Experience have to be high. All good attributes that need to be built up and can be competitive. And let me bring up probably the horrible fact is not a lot of women are in esports, but there's sort of a reason for that. The average time frame, supposedly women have like a 0.1 second on average difference between a male and a female, and in esports that makes a difference. This is why you won't find a lot of females, or at least that's what I hear.
What I do like about esports, and I can very easily be talked out of it being a sport. I do think it's ultimately a marketing thing. It's a competition for sure, and it is a game of not inches, but it's almost like track and field, where it's milliseconds that separate the good from the bad. There's an old Seinfeld skit about that. You're doing the 100-meter dash, and it literally comes down to who has their chest out in front when you're side by side. And I feel like the competitive aspect is definitely there. I always harp on Counter Strike Global Offensive, and on top of being the or uncut cocaine of shooters, it's to me like the quintessential esport. Now it's not, and I'm going to talk about this a little later. It's not the most successful one by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like it is the most raw and competitive. So I get
how
it.
does that compare to MOBAs like Dota 2 and League of Legends in your mind?
Well, like Bill said, you have to know what you're doing, and it does take skill in terms of knowing when and where to click, I suppose, not to detract from it. But with like League of Legends in particular, which I have a little bit of experience with, I didn't like it, so I didn't play it that long. But you have to know what counters what and what you can buy to make sure your guy stays alive against whoever's in top lane or whatever. I don't really know.
Yeah,
And it is a
builds,
team
different
game.
builds. You have to
And
know how to
going
counter certain tactics. I
and going
play
back,
probably League of Legends a little more than you, so yeah, it is a difficult process. I think, and this is something like
well,
CS:GO. Do you have all those things? Do you have to keep in mind all the different types of guns in the field to counter against you?
yeah, for sure. You have to know if you're on a buy round, if the enemy's on a buy round, if you need to buy head armor because it wouldn't matter if they have AKs because it's a one-shot headshot anyway. You have to manage your finances based on what strategy your team is going to implement that particular round. So there's some fiscal concerns in Counter Strike. There's even let's not go mid because the CTs all have USPs and they're better long range against our Glocks. Those are the kinds of considerations you make in Counter Strike Go in a competitive environment. Now, going back real quick to a point Bill had, fuck, it actually escapes me now. Oh, right. So you mentioned team sports as being on the upper echelon of actual sports, and I agree with that because you have to know how to work with a team. So I'll give League of Legends and all Dota and stuff the same credit I give Counter Strike. It's a team game. You're relying on your team. Weakest link in the chain can break you. But then swimming, for instance, is still on the. I feel like swimming would be like a 6 to me on the sports scale
Yeah, yeah.
because it's physically intense, but it's also about individual effort purely. So then you have games like fucking Fortnite and PUBG and stuff like that where you display your physicality, but all you have to be is good. You don't have to be good and know how to work in the
Well, there is
context of your
team
team.
base in Fortnite, from what I know. There are squad based strategies, but
I don't know
yeah,
if the
battle.
professional level plays it that way though. I really don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I
I don't
don't
know.
watch enough of that.
Me
Sorry.
neither.
I'm not a Fortnite expert. I played it a few times, so I know you can get in a team.
So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like you had much more ire, Bill, about esports. Tell me more about what you hate about it.
It's just not that my thing, man. I don't know. Whatever tickles your pickle, I guess, but it's just kind of not my thing. I've tried watching it, watching stuff on Twitch and other things. I just don't get it. It's not entertaining to me. I don't know, sitting watching other people play video games, especially ones that don't have a lot of substance. Like I can sit all day long and with friends and watch them play a game like Resident Evil or something like that, and take turns and that kind of thing and have a good time. But to just sit and watch a stranger play a pretty dumbed down game doesn't do it for me.
A dumbed
You know?
down game like Smash Brothers per se, which you
Yeah,
have a particular friend who is really into that.
yeah, and there's also to me there's kind of at least from what I've seen in the limited amount of like, because I've been around some of these events like in person, there is some like toxic fandom we've talked about before, I think, surrounding it that was kind of off-putting to me. I don't know.
What's the worst toxic fandom you've seen personally?
Probably the Smash Brothers players.
Probably the ones you experienced the most.
The fans. The players. I only met a couple. They seemed alright, but the fans. I mean, like the people who attend these things and who
there's
get
people who
rabid
attend these things.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So to me, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
Yeah.
I don't really. I would be more inclined to either participate and run in an event than I would to watch one. If that makes any sense,
It does, yeah.
Like I would, if somebody wanted to watch me play Fallout on Twitch, then sure, but to me, I couldn't just sit there with a bag of chips watching somebody else play. That just doesn't do it for me.
Well, I'm bringing that back around to Persona. Some of these streamers actually have personas that actually are. Then we get into the sort of weird area of people who play these games and just talk about random subjects. Like Destiny is a good example of this. He plays a lot of League of Legends, but he does a lot of left-wing debates. He used to be against all the right-wingers. Now he's starting to hate the far left. And it's quite an interesting dynamic. And there's several battle royales, but let me not get too deep into that. Oh, freaking political YouTube. I just wanted to bring that up in the sort of Twitch space. Then there's the booby streamers. Mike, I'm sure you know all about the booby streamers. What do you think of booby streamers?
Well, I like boobs. But
and you like streams, especially when they come out of champagne bottles. Sorry to put you on the spot, Mike. I thought that would be the perfect subject to throw you into.
I do like being thrown into boobs, but I'm not really a stream guy. I watch Critical Role. That's my stream of choice, although I haven't really watched Season 2. I liked Merchant for a while. I didn't watch him streaming, but I watched his YouTube videos. He was a Magic the Gathering or a Magic Arena guy.
I watched several Magic guys. There's quite a few streamers who I find interesting. There's one real retard who named his channel the most unoriginal.
Is it a booby streamer?
No, it's a guy who didn't even show his face. He sounds Russian, and he's always just fucking up, making the worst toxic decks ever. But let me not get into that. I don't watch booby streamers either. Sometimes I watch some of the compilations just to be like, okay, who's this? Okay, yeah, I can see why people have problems. A lot of people have problems with booby streamers. They even have a horrible acronym for them. Thoughts. Twitch thoughts.
That's not an acronym. Oh, no, these hoes out here.
It stands for something.
These hoes out there.
That hoe over there.
Yeah, I don't know. You get where I'm coming from? I'm kind of like, just to me, too, like a lot of the popular games that people have said, like League of Legends and other stuff like that, for me to watch, I tried watching them. The games seem crappy. I don't know, just, a bunch of button mashing and all this crazy action going on, but nothing really happening. You know what I mean?
I do. Now,
like,
I'm looking...
I would rather watch Counter-Strike, because that's more pure to me. Like, there's a definite objective that everything that happens for a reason, and it's not just this kind of crazy chaos that somebody's like, oh yeah, they're really great, Yeah,
no, I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm not into the type of game or the skill ceiling, but yeah, I have no taste for watching League of Legends. And I've seen a couple competitive matches in my time. Hanging out with
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say hanging out with Dave and Alex, they're big League of Legends guys, and I've sat down and watched. And I acknowledge that it takes skills that I'm not aware of, but I really don't find it to be entertaining.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, to me, too, it's one of those things, and one of the kind of dividing points between, like, sports and that kind of stuff is, I feel like and I could be wrong, that it's a lot easier to pick up esports than it would be like professionally get into real sports, or athletic sports.
That's a really good thing to hit on.
I mean, would you agree with that? I don't know.
I
Maybe I'm wrong.
I would agree with that because I think you can take a professional
you-
athlete
Yeah.
and
Like
sit
if
him
you or I
down.
sat down and played Counter-Strike nonstop for the next 2 years, I'm sure we could be ranked somewhere, right? But
Yeah.
there's no way that we're going to go out and play for the World Cup or this, or play, in the NFL in that same time period. It's just not going to happen.
I agree. I agree with that on the whole, but I will say that as you get older, I do think your tendons are not as flexible and your reaction time is not as good. So just
Yeah.
like sports, where you're pretty much done by the time you're 34, unless you're like the exception.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm just saying. Really though, professional athlete wise, they're
I
pretty
feel
much.
like 50% of my feeling old comes from you, Mike.
Well, I'm going to work on those numbers this year, Bill.
I see you're shaming each other, age shaming. That's such a shame.
I wonder what it is with millennials, like always trying to look at ourselves as way older than we are. Because Gen X did the exact opposite. Go watch an episode of Friends. All they talk about is how that the 30 is new 20 and 40 is the new 30 and blah 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 blah. And then millennials are like, we're 90 years old when we hit 21.
I think it's that weird. So we grew up with the Gen X people. So we were exposed to like clove cigarettes and Nirvana at a very young age. So we all
We've
kind of
seen
grew
some
up
shit,
quickly.
man.
We
Yeah.
have seen some shit, I think.
Yeah.
And we've been constantly attacked for the last decade.
Oh God, you ain't kidding.
So it kind of puts us in a tight spot.
Yeah.
I will
Plus,
say
I feel
that
like older millennials on certain things will identify with Gen Xers, so we're like pushing ourselves into the older group, even though we're really not.
yeah, I totally agree with that.
Anyway,
Hey, what
that's off
millennials have
topic.
you guys been dealing with?
You're a millennial, bro.
You are a millennial. Yeah.
Yes, I'm asking what millennials you've been dealing with.
You
You.
and Bill.
Okay, we are the horrible people.
See
I
if you
mean,
can
I am
get-
too.
See if you can get
Okay.
that in stereo, right? Mr. Oatmeal.
Mr. Oatmeal.
I don't feel old. Okay, I'm the oldest out of us.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't complain about being old, except for to my wife, and that's just because she's older. It's
You probably
funny
look
to make fun of her.
Younger than all of us, honestly, except for maybe me on good days.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
thanks again, Mike.
Well, you're closer, bro. You got 2 years on me. You got a few years on me.
You also have a beer.
No, well, you just said, yeah.
Yeah, you look old all the time. Sometimes I look young. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I said, and I stand by it.
Okay.
Fuck you, Mike.
So have we figured
Hey,
out
I
how
still
to?
got carded the other day, right?
We still have this regrouping of the Twitch streamers and Twitch thoughts, or are we doing esports? Because Sonic Fox, that was a funny thing. Anyone
Sonic
hear about the Sonic
Fox?
Fox? He got an
Is that a
award.
furry thing?
Yep.
Oh, is that the
queer
the
furry
Street Fighter guy?
whatever he does? He got
Yeah, I
an
think it's Street
award,
Fighter. Yeah,
and he
yeah.
went out and made an ass out of himself and pretty much called out everyone who does not identify as queer, furry, or some sort of thing. It blew over real quick. I didn't really pay too much attention, but it's something to worth talking about. Oh yes, I remember what I wanted to talk about in the Gamosphere, speed running. Now that's an interesting subject I find interesting. Sorry,
Well, real-
bunch of sources in the shop right now.
Just to stay on esports, I'm looking at. I know Bill hates it when you Google stuff, but I'm looking at.
Hey, I'm not against Google and stuff. I was just saying for the list, it's kind of cheating to go down the list and pull the ones from other people's. But
No. Bill is a Bing guy. He hates Jeff Bezos,
Oh,
and I don't
God.
blame him. Or not Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos. He hates YouTube and Google, and I don't blame him. But
Who
I'm looking
doesn't?
at.
God, Bing is terrible.
I'm looking at the prize pool for esports. Take a stab at what the highest prize pool is and what game it's for.
Overwatch, 1 million.
Bill, want to
Hey.
register a guess?
I have no idea. I really don't.
$34 million for Dota 2, split amongst 18 teams, 90 players. On average, that's $370,000 a person. But I'm sure that the winner gets the lion's share.
They're funded by the
$34
Chinese, so that makes sense. China
million
throws
dollars.
money at everyone.
Dota represents the top five prize pools in all of esports, ranging from 34 million to 18 million. Fortnite is 6 and 7 at 15 million. League of Legends, a paltry $6 million at number 9. Counter-Strike is not shown until number 46 at 1.5 million for 8 teams. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 didn't even realize there was an esports scene for that at $2 million amongst 32 teams. I've heard about these houses that they put, like Cloud9 and stuff. They put them up in these houses so they can just practice all day and not have to worry about rent, you know? And I'm sure we mentioned that, you know, they're probably not that athletic, but when you're on a public stage like that, I'm sure they encourage everyone to keep in shape at least.
Just
I'm not
to
saying they
look
can
good,
go run.
more pretty for the camera.
Look good for the camera. Absolutely. And they're probably also on their healthcare, so it doesn't hurt to keep them somewhat physically fit. Now, I'm not saying they can go out and start smacking homers, but I feel like they do stay in relative shape. How about the scandals? You want to talk about the scandals of esports, the cheaters and whatnot?
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't heard of them. But enlighten us, Mike, instead of boring us with facts and numbers.
Yeah, facts and numbers were never really my strong suit anyway.
All the voters in
Yes,
America.
give
right
us the
now.
dirt.
Thank you, Brian, for demonstrating the average American.
Godspeed, Burke Bickler.
This is a podcast for entertainment, not to be bored.
Well,
And
we're
Mike's
talking about
supposed to be
esports.
the entertaining one, but go on.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
So, honestly, I don't know. I don't have all the facts about this cheating scandal. I do know at least
who
one of the people
cares?
involved.
Rumors.
Well, just
Give it
let
to
me
us.
fucking
Good,
finish my
juicy
sentence. How about
rumors.
that? Just let me finish what I was going to say.
You need to preface this everything with a disclaimer.
You need to interrupt every fucking thing. Let the man talk.
So, Shroud is a very popular streamer. He was on a professional Counter-Strike team. I don't remember what the team was. I don't remember who else was involved. But I do know that they were throwing games for money. There have also been people found with hacks on their computer for professional Counter-Strike games. And my understanding is that, and I don't know all the ins and outs, so don't forget to tell us how much you hate us in the comments. But they go through a lot of care to make sure that the machine that the person is using in a professional event is not a machine they've touched before. So I don't know how that works. But the big one I remember was people throwing games for money. For skins, actually, in particular, which are worth real money.
Yes, on the
There's a
global
Counter-Strike
scale.
skin that sells for $13,000, guys.
Good grief.
13,000
Why, though?
real dollars. It's all about the float. So first you have the rarity of the skin, which is based on what collection it's in and how many they, quote, produce. Then it's about the wear of that skin. So if it has a good float, it means that it's not that worn. And there are only so many of those. So if you happen to get one of those skins that has a low float, you can go on a website that interfaces with your Steam inventory, and you can sell that through a clearinghouse, as it were, for real dollars. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sounds like a scam. Like
Last I checked, my inventory.
Let's talk
inventory's worth
about
about $300.
microtransactions. That
Whatever
have
tickles
really
your pickle,
become
right?
bullshit. Microtransactions. Skins is what brings that up. These companies are getting so greedy. CSGO, Fortnite.
League of Legends. League of Legends
How do you
made
think Fortnite makes so much money? Skins.
League of Legends made all their money because it's a free-to-play game selling champions and skins for those champions.
Yep. You can play it for free, and you can get the champions, but it takes time. But if you don't have that hot emoji, no one's going to respect you, man.
And I get it. I mean, to a certain degree, I get it. I've spent some real dollars on skins, not thousands of dollars, but I spent $10 for an AK skin in my time, but I was playing the game so much at that point that why wouldn't I want to look at something cool? I put $14 into Counter Strike Go 5 years ago. Why not chip in a couple more dollars to get? It's almost like downloadable content.
Well, I agree, but the game industry is sort of these microtransactions. They get a certain percentage of people who are chronic gamblers who don't actually gamble. This is how they make a lot of money. There's some people who just have that addictive personality when you have a lottery system for random items that they just get hooked and they spend boatloads of money. I've heard people go into debt for Fortnite because their kid gets a hold of a credit card and puts $10,000 into something like that.
Real quick, I don't want to dominate this conversation, but I have a fun story about this. When CS:GO Lotto was a big thing, one time Alex and I spent $100 each on cases in Counter Strike and opened them all up, and then took all the skins we won and gambled them on CS:GO Lotto. And we were up until like 6 o'clock in the morning, just straight up gambling. I understand how people get addicted to gambling now, gambling our skins, and it was a fucking blast. It was like one of the the best nights I've had in my.
Mike, you might
late
have one
20s.
of those personalities.
I do have one of those personalities. That's why I stay away from it mostly. But
Yes. Smart man. Mostly. I only blew like
Mostly.
1,000 here or there. I only let myself have it every year or two. But yes. Okay, back to since we're in the gamosphere, speedrunning. Any of you guys watch speedruns at all? It's fairly popular.
I've seen
There's
a couple.
There's a few charity events. I find that fascinating. No real big names. So many people are in these communities. They switch hands. Like Ocarina of Time. Shit. I found myself like Fallout New Vegas. One of your favorites, Bill, has a vibrant speed running community. Especially there's a glitch with a revolver that lets you just like zap around the battlefield. Not battlefield, the map.
the Wasteland.
It's just amazing to see some of these speed runs, especially when like Resident Evil 2 remake, I think 30-minute finish time on that.
Yeah, some of those can be interesting.
Yeah, there's some crap in some of these communities though going weirdly censorship. Supposedly there was like one of these speedrunners got banned for Owen Wilson joke.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how sensitive. Maybe they have a sponsorship with Owen Wilson or something, but one of the actual World of Warcraft players who played competitively a few years ago, called Glick, sort of got me into this rabbit hole of the games done quick, and they're really weird. The censorship that they do in the ban hammer, I don't even understand it, but
Would you call speedrunning an e-sport?
well, there's money to be made in it. You get the top spot, and there are rewards for that. Mostly it's for charity events. But
So I feel like we've heard a lot from the esports are not sports camp. Brian, do you feel as though esports are sports?
oh, absolutely not. Okay, I don't even think that's a valid issue. That's sort of making fun of real sports. I mean, yes, you have to train, condition yourself. I mean, the training method can be comparable, but they're not really sports. They're digital sports if you want to get it at best. Okay?
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I think we all kind of agree that the moniker of esports is
it's horrible.
Yeah, it's a
in
misnomer. Yeah.
yeah.
Marketing purposes only. I don't really hold that against them, but being like, I'm an esports guy, I can play knockout, I'm the best knockout king in the world. Try going up against the worst person in boxing and you would get your ass beat.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bill made that point when you were away. It's much easier to go from real sports to esports than the reverse. It's easier for a boxer to start playing League of Legends than a League of Legends player going into boxing.
Oh, that's a horrible comparison. Boxers have so much brain damage. I don't think they could get into esports. But I could see a basketball star or maybe a golfer, which, again, that's probably low tier real sports. Takes some physical effort. That's probably a 2. When we were talking about scale, I would say golf is like a 2. A
Yeah,
little
golf
bit
is
more
down there, yeah.
athleticism than something like bowling where you just push a ball. But
And as we established before, this is not to take away from the.
lower
I
tier
mean,
sports or esports.
well, I was gonna say it's
just
not
a
to take
different
away
skill
from.
set.
It's not to take away from the competitive nature of competitive video games. I mean, I get hyped up being the last guy alive in a Counter Strike game, and like my heart rate goes up significantly, and I'm kind of shaking afterwards because it gets intense. I mean, it's silly to say, but a 5v5 competitive Counter Strike game where it's like a 1v3 situation and you just planted the bomb, it gets intense. But
This
I
is
do agree, it's not really a sport.
this is where speed running can come in. There's heavy competition, and just a difference of a couple split seconds can get you from like the 30th place to
Yeah.
top place. And you need to see some of these runs at the very end. They like explode, like we're a new world record, and people are cheating at that even.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard a lot of cheating with the speed
Yeah.
running.
Speed running community is quite interesting.
So I feel like we established our thoughts on esports. The subtopic here was streamers. Any
Yeah.
streamers that you guys like?
Said Dr. Disrespect.
You did say Dr. Disrespect, yeah.
Who sort of got disrespected. He got like banned for going in a bathroom. I mean, I understand
Yeah.
why he got banned, but it was a little weird still. And the whole cheating on wife thing. And as I said, Ninja, complete blowhard. A lot of these people make it by with their persona. Same with Ninja. I mean,
They're
and
entertainers. They're
he's
entertainers.
a crappy personality.
Yeah, I don't like
underst-
Ninja. I don't get the
Well,
appeal.
he goes for kids. His target audience is kids.
I want to isolate you saying he goes for kids.
Okay. Just a disclaimer in case anyone's watching this. I do not believe Ninja is a pedophilia. Supposedly, he has a really attractive wife, like a lot of these streamers.
Yeah, they do.
8-year-olds, Donnie. 8-year-olds.
Yeah, were you here, Brian, when we were talking about? Yeah, you were here talking about the hot gamer girls all getting snatched up by the streamer guys. I'm just waiting at the divorces at this point. Other streamers I like, I don't even really know. I like Shroud, even though he was caught cheating that one time. He's like really good,
Just the pressure got to him, man.
I guess. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't really follow the esports scene super closely. I try to tune in to the major events for Counter Strike just to give them the viewership. You know.
Understand. I mean, do you consider a lot of these Magic players that's popped up all over, like Merchant, as you mentioned? There's Day9, these Magic arena guys, esports.
No, not esports.
Yeah, they're streamers, but they're not esports. I mean, the strategy involved in Magic, it varies. First person who comes up with the strategy and exploits it generally tends to win, but not esports.
Professional gaming, just to go back, professional gaming definitely does not have the same ring as esports.
Yeah, it's a good marketing tactic.
I think it used to be called something else, at least for Counter Strike. It's like CLC, the Competitive League Championship, or something like that.
Yeah, like the NFL, WWE, everyone's got initials, so. And damn, South Korea is. When you look into esports, South Korea's got Mark almost cornered. I think
StarCraft,
the best team is a team called Faker, I think I saw. I forgot what they won.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess part of sports is also like the obviously you have your team, but it's usually regional, you know?
Yeah.
So you kind of lose that with esports.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to
somewhat,
get a hometown
somewhat.
team. I mean,
Cloud9 was a North American team that shocked the world because they weren't, Chinese or South Korean, and still
Yeah.
good.
As I
So
said,
there was that a
South
little
Korea's got the market on the esports stars. So, Bill, what's your thought on streamers? Just streamers, not esports. Do you care?
To
Any
be
you
honest,
follow?
No, I really haven't followed anybody, or
No,
I couldn't.
PewDiePie. Well, he's not really a
I've-
streamer, but
Gonna say I've heard of him, seen clips, but no, I couldn't really tell you.
this is why the
Anything
Let's
about
Player
streamers.
sort of died, is because of streamers. They stream games for many, many hours a day, and you can interact with them live. I understand why the Let's Plays die. It's the streamers, the Twitch streamers. And there's plenty of other platforms you can stream video games on, especially more controversial. Twitch bans people, from what I hear, very easily.
Well, like Ninja, they go for kids.
Yeah,
know
Ninja
they're-
even made money by switching a stream service. Not all go for children. I mean, things like Dota 2, yeah, Bill, it is funny. They go for kids.
Well, I mean, Twitch. The reason why they have such staunch guidelines is because kids are where the money's at. You know, a streaming service specifically designed for adults. When like that hot gamer chick can just take off her shirt for money, I feel like wouldn't be super profitable. But now that we're talking about it, patent pending, we should come up with the platform where millennials like us can finally sit down and watch their favorite streamers just like fucking curse and talking about butt fucking and
Well, I'm sure it's out there. There's
Be
other
honest, Mike,
streaming
you just wanna see a
services
topless
besides
chick play
Twitch.
Counter Strike.
yeah, bro. Yes, of course. Duh. Everyone wins. She gets paid. I get to see her playing Counter-Strike topless. Fucking what's the problem?
Yeah,
We're
right?
not getting coronavirus. I wondered about strippers and coronavirus. I wonder if strip clubs are like, look, ladies, we're going to have you work in 2-week shifts and then switch. And if you feel any symptoms, you can't come back into work or something. I don't know.
They'll just set up live cams.
Yeah. I wonder if this coronavirus outbreak will like spur the creation of like beat off technology or something. I wonder
What about virtual
technological breakthrough.
technology, okay?
Yeah,
You'd be like,
well,
I
that's
don't want to go outside. Let's create the oasis so no
That's
one
the
actually has
thing.
to interact with each other.
they have it.
this-
Ready Player
maybe it's all,
One, everyone.
maybe Jeff Bezos released coronavirus so that everybody would just shop online,
Yes,
stay home.
absolutely.
Conspiracy.
Maybe that was a concession to Bezos. Like, look, man, the Democrats are due for a victory here. It's the Illuminati already judged that, so we're going to let you get paid for
The
like
Democrats
6 months.
are going to put in Biden. Oh,
Yeah.
During the
God, that is
coronavirus.
horrible.
Yeah, I get. Last thing I want to say, even though I agree that they're not necessarily sports, I do enjoy seeing professional
Killing you, isn't it?
professional video gaming on ESPN.
Yeah.
I
It's killing you,
do.
isn't it?
It's not killing me.
You're like, I gotta go back.
I gotta go back and just
Yeah,
say
he's been hammering this point home a lot.
I enjoy. I like the movement.
I
I
agree
do
with
like the
the
movement.
spirit of it.
We all just have to relax. They're not sports, okay? I love that there's so much money in it now and that it's a long story, but I got really bummed because I wasn't invited to this professional Counter-Strike thing. I like that whole scene, but they're definitely not sports.
Yeah.
Take skill,
Professional
but
gaming.
not sports.
Well, we had a lot of fun today, didn't we? We talked about what are and are not sports. We
More
talked
than
about
actual esports or streamers or anything like that.
I think Brian said something about streams of boobs, which sounds pretty cool. And don't forget, kids, there were 90 teams that split $34 million in a professional Dota 2 match. So just keep sitting there and gaming it out, and it might work out for you. Until next time, this has been BBM. It's been Brian, Bill, and Mike. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Catch us every Tuesday and Wednesday or Friday. Don't forget to tell us how much you hate us in the comments. Bye.